Checking out the storage and organization section at the dollar store can be a little overwhelming. There's so many choices. How can you tell which sizes and styles will be useful? But what if I could show you which Dollar Tree finds can work really well for quilters and which ones might be clutter in disguise? Hi, I'm Beth Ann Williams. A number of you asked for alternatives to my IKEA suggestions. So Connor and I took a trip to our local Dollar Tree store, armed with a tape measure and a list of what we were looking for, and we came out with a selection of baskets perfect for organizing and storing yardage, precuts like 10-inch square layer cakes, 5-inch square charm packs, fat quarters, 2.5-inch wide jelly rolls, and even scraps left over from previous projects. Let's start with this one. And just like in the IKEA video, I'm pulling photos, product names, and dimensions directly from the company website. But check this out. The measurements listed for this bin, just under 15 inches by just under 10 inches, are accurate when you're measuring across the top of the basket and including the handles. This is helpful when you're figuring out what will fit on a drawer or on a shelf. But if you measure the bottom, you get a much different measurement. And this is the measurement you'll need to figure out what the basket will hold. I find this size works really well for yardage that I've folded and wrapped on comic book boards or acid-free cardstock trimmed to approximately 6 3/4 inch by 10.5 inches. I really love the way this method allows me to see what I have at just a glance, no digging through stacks or bins to find what I need. A quick note, you can always adjust the width of your cardstock if your shelves or drawers are a bit shallower than mine. It's easy to customize. I couldn't find this basket online, but I found it in the store. It measures about 17.5 inches by about 12 inches across the top. It's the largest basket I bought, and I find it perfect for storing packaged 3-yard cuts of 108-inch wide backing fabric, which can sometimes be challenging to store. This works great. Now let's look at this size. This is the second largest basket that I purchased. It's a little tight at the very bottom, but I find that it works well for my 10-inch square layer cakes, whether I purchase them as precuts or cut them myself from yardage. There we go. Apparently, this basket comes in additional colors. Maybe it's a seasonal thing. Either way, I found that it holds 4 large jelly rolls very nicely, and it makes a really pretty display. These baskets were the lowest in price. They also felt the flimsiest to me. Although at 2 at the price of 1, we really can't complain. But nevertheless, they still seem to work pretty well for fat quarters, whether the fat quarters are folded into small bundles like these or standard bundles like these. And there we go. Works just fine. In contrast, I was very impressed with the sturdiness and durability of these drawer organizers. They have a non-slip lining and even little feet. While they would also be great for fat quarters, here I'm going to show them with a bundle of clef yard cuts. And there we are. I'm also going to show how well they work for 5-inch square charm square packs. And there we are. So they're actually a pretty versatile size. I couldn't find the dimensions listed online, so here's a photo of the size I'm using. It says 9 3/4 inch by 6 3/4 inch by 2 inches tall. These drawer organizers are from the same product line and are just as sturdy. They come in different sizes, so be sure to pick the ones you want. Here's the size I'm using. It says 13.5 inches by 3 3/4 inch by 2 inches tall. I find these work perfectly for jelly rolls, particularly 2.5 inch strips that I've cut myself from leftover fabric. I thought these collapsible boxes were interesting, so I picked up a few. I think they were about $1.25 each. They're pretty lightweight, not quite as strong as the boxes from IKEA, but they do have an insert that somewhat reinforces the bottom. I still wouldn't put anything heavy in them. Let me get this wedged in there. There we go. Got it all poked down in. And as you can see, they are pretty, and you can't beat the price. I could see them working well for something like batting scraps. Here I'm using one to hold the leftover fabric straps from various projects. I also picked up a few more pool noodles and some plastic broom handles to slide inside the pool noodles to make the foam noodles less floppy and bendy. As I've shown before, I like to use these when I baste my quilts, but I also find them useful for rolling and storing very long or extra wide cuts of fabric. I find they work well for large cuts of batting, too. The dollar store also carries popular storage bins like these in different sizes, although I've moved away from these for two reasons. First, even though they are translucent, I find it harder to see what's inside, especially when the boxes are full. And second, these bins can get very heavy. They're easy to stash in a closet or even under the bed, but they can be inconvenient if you're using your fabric as often as I am. So I prefer an open shelving system like this, which I share in both my IKEA videos. And I also want to note that open shelving for my fabric works fine for me because I don't have any direct light on my fabric. It is protected. I also really like drawers like this, using products that we've talked about today from Dollar Tree. Now, how do you organize and store your fabric? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Please share any tips or product recommendations that you have too. With the possible exception of the drawer organizers, I find the IKEA options sturdier and maybe a little bit more polished. But if you're looking for budget-friendly options in convenient locations, Dollar Tree and its sister stores may offer lots of great possibilities. And if you'd enjoy more content like this, plus inspiration, tutorials, and advance notice of upcoming classes and events, I'd love to welcome you to my weekly email newsletter. It's where I share things I don't always post on YouTube, and it's the best way to stay connected. You'll find the link in the description below the video. Thanks so much for watching, and please don't forget to share any of your favorite tips or products in the comments. And if you enjoyed this, please be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss more budget-friendly quilting tips. Happy quilting!